All right, welcome back to another exciting episode on Solving the People Puzzle. I'm your host, Francois de Wet here from Whamley. And as always, I'm so excited to have in-studio guests that excite me, that share my passion. Joe and I spent awesome time on a conversation the other day online, and I said, Joe, you must come to the studio. We must do a podcast together. Welcome to Solving the People Puzzle, the HR Thought Leadership podcast hosted by myself, Francois de Wet. I think we both became extremely passionate and excited about a topic, and that was actually the first time that we ever spoke.
Yes.
And I just felt like, boom, here's synergy, here's alignment and energy and just thinking. So welcome to the People Puzzle here at Whamley. By way of introduction, if you don't mind sharing who you are with the audience and what you do.
So, first of all, Francois, so excited. Can't wait to have this conversation. The energy that we had when we had that conversation and realizing, oh my word, I've got a kindred soul here that really gets where I'm coming from.
Yes.
So, I'm Joe. I'm managing director of a company called Art of Talent. Art of Talent has three key service offerings. The one is really around building capability in talent acquisition professionals, in particular in internal talent acquisition professional teams, and how do I help them to shift from specialist to advisor.
Sure.
So there's a body of work that I'm doing there with a couple of clients. Second one is I am predominantly in executive search, and that business is very focused around C-suite professionals, but a combination of also helping the hiring managers who are in that space to really understand what is required from a C-suite professional today and the process that takes them on that journey. And then the third one that I'm very passionate about is I live and breathe self-esteem. I'm a self-esteem coach, and through that practice, which I have this byline, thrive despite what life throws at you.
Wow.
So that's really the journey that I'm on and I'm hoping to impart. And part of that is I have a nonprofit called Women in Conversation with my co-founder, Helen McDougall. And that is really about how do we help women to thrive. And my mission is to uplift. I started with 10,000 women, but I think I should make it bigger. But 10,000 women, if I can impact their self-esteem.
Okay.
I'm impacting families, communities, and then South Africa. And South Africa is what I'm so passionate about.
I have seldomly in my career met someone that's got such a clear vision and purpose for themselves. So, I mean, maybe that's news to you, maybe not, but that was really refreshing. And that's something I didn't pick up on our call, by the way. It's the first time I heard that. But to have such a clear vision and mission for yourself, I think, at least from my perspective, I've been confronted with that, especially when I was younger. And then I started this career and this journey in Whamley, and I don't know if I've ever circled back to my own. You're like, what's Francois? You know, it's been overwhelmed by what's Whamley's, and especially in the beginning of building a business, it's like, well, Francois is Whamley and Whamley is Francois. Well, not anymore. And I think you just gave me a piece of homework around let's maybe go and check out my own. But that's brilliant, Joe. I love that, especially the advisory, turning HRBP into advisor.
So not necessarily HRBPs if they are in the talent acquisition space. But it's specifically around talent acquisition professionals. How do they transition from being a specialist to an advisor inside the organization? Yeah. Because there's a very real challenge happening inside organizations. And I've been observing it for some time.
Yeah.
And then really starting to delve into the why of the struggle.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of very real issues coming through around their ability to transition.
Yeah. And I, firstly, when you told me what your business does, my mind went to, wait a minute, here's 3 episodes, potentially 3 different episodes, right? Yes. So let's try and condense it. And we don't have to equally distribute our attention to all 3 of your pockets, even though I love them. This first one, I've been very vocal on stage, on the podcast, in conversations around, vocal and curious, around the identity of the HR community. And then, of course, our stakeholders as Whamley is predominantly talent acquisition.
Yep.
Right? We don't really touch the other areas that much. And when I say identity, in there is capability, capacity, confidence, self-awareness, empowerment, and maybe a willingness to want to do this. And I've not been in this space. I've been in this space now for 13 years, and I've kind of not seen a shift in the intent across this group behind those 5 or 6 labels. And I'd love to pick your brain and your experience on my observation, which might be driven from just observation or maybe some real data and insights.
So the question is why? And recently I've been approached by chief people officers, in particular 2 of them, who have said, please start some sort of group. We need support.
Sure.
We're not coping. The levels of burnout that they're experiencing, etc. So and in any conversation, there's an acknowledgement that they're going backwards.
Yeah.
I have yet to come across any organization that I'm working inside who are telling me that their HR division, department is a game changer and is really helping that organization to transition, but most importantly, to compete.
Sure.
And I'm part of that profession.
Yeah, we are.
So I'm sitting and I'm asking these questions why. And there's a couple of things that come to mind, and I don't think I necessarily have the answers.
Yeah.
But
which is cool. We're sharing thoughts.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the one is the expectation that HR is who is the gatekeeper of values inside an organization and the gatekeeper of ethics inside an organization, which I think is a very unfair ask.
Yeah.
And it's not a fair perception.
Burden.
It's an enormous burden. The thing is that when you go and study human resources, typically you choose it because you go, I love working with people.
Yes.
Okay. Until you work with people.
Guess what? Yeah.
Not so funny. And nowhere in those degrees, and I'll come into the talent acquisition space, but nowhere in those degrees, is there a subject that talks about, do you know that you're going to come into an organization, you're going to be expected to be the gatekeeper of values and ethics, yet you will be the one person who will find yourself severely compromised many, many times. And why? So one is there's a power differential.
Yes.
You're coming in, the CEO or the C-suite team, those are your key stakeholders. They're the ones who decide your bonuses, your performance, etc. And I think that as human resource professionals, and not just, everybody, but human resource professionals in particular, you just mentioned earlier, what's my why?
Yes.
Okay. I did that journey for 10 years.
Sure.
So when I quote my why now, trust me, that came with much conversation, challenges, thinking about what is that, what does it look like? Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I think the one is that as a human resource professional, who am I and what are my values? And if you go on a values journey, let's think about anyone who says, I value honesty, integrity. They throw out these words without really understanding what they mean, because that's what they think everybody wants to hear. But then you're challenged and you're faced with situations that I think are very, very hard to navigate. You're balancing different priorities. So I think that there's an element of what is right and wrong, what's gray, what can be, what can't be. And I think that the way that organizations are under pressure nowadays, it's very, very hard.
Yeah.
And the thing is you're that face.
Yeah.
So you put a foot wrong, you make a mistake, you make a wrong call, you represent your leadership in a way that is questionable. Your credibility shot.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you just think of that one that went viral of the CEO having their affair with the HR.
Exactly. Done.
In that one, they said that CEO, because he knows how to grow new businesses, he's going to get another job. That HR, forget it.
Good luck.
It's never going to happen.
Yeah.
And Is that fair?
You know, I'm thinking of this going, one, the reason why we have this podcast and our HR Roundtable initiative and our events is because we deeply care about HR and the HR community. And as much as I am critical and challenging of the community's growth, I'm deeply compassionate about where they are. And my perspective, to add on to what you're saying, is I often, to your point, don't know if HR professionals really know what they're signing up for, which could be very similar in other industries as well, right? As an industrial psychologist, I myself wasn't too sure in doing my master's, what do we actually do, right? But I think there's this aha moment, especially if you go into corporate HR, that you didn't, like, to your point, I'm going to work with people, and then you're in spreadsheets more than or in systems these days, then you're
or
more in front of
compliance
people.
and governance and rules.
Exactly. So I think there's that aha moment around, oh goodness, what did I sign up for? I think secondly, it's such a difficult power game and distance and this tension. It's almost a dichotomy that they're sitting in with, like, you're representing Exco, you're making offers, you're also letting go of people, you're driving values and culture campaigns, you're supposed to be the human side of the business. You're sitting with so much sensitive information, like payroll, as an example, or dismissal reasons, or whatever the case might be. So it's such a complex environment that I'm not too sure people, one, are aware of before they start, and then therefore can go, is this actually for me? Or you're also confronted, and this is maybe on a macro level, with this identity that you're supposed to be a business partner, but you're a shared service. You're admin, but you're really important. Please fill my vacancy. But I can also scream at you. And you're always chasing and under pressure, and the line manager is always right. And they disregard the job spec that you profiled with them, come push to shove, or fill this vacancy with that guy. But what about my process? Like, I think it's just such a tension-driven environment to be in.
Absolutely.
And I think then the whole fight, flight, freeze just kicks in.
Absolutely.
And maybe to your point around what you're observing from a fatigue and from a tension perspective is the pace is not stopping. The demand for talent is not stopping.
Nope.
Now we throw in this overwhelming amount of technology and AI on top of this group of individuals who, remember, didn't go and study machine learning and AI and machines. Remember, we're people. And then you have just this beautiful...
So certainly, I think that there's, what have I got myself into?
Yeah.
And I don't have the research to back this up. But if I speak to the organizations who are struggling, who are asking me to come in, help us, the least investment in training and development is in HR and in the professionalization of that community of practice. It's the least invested in.
Who's HR for HR?
Exactly. The other is one of those CPOs was sharing, they were having a talk. They're talking about how wellness programs are not working.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
So to me, it comes back to my personal journey. So if I think of over the years, and you spoke about I'm Whamley and Whamley is Francois.
Yeah.
I was Joe at Talent Brand and Talent Brand was Joe.
Yeah.
When I started Art of Talent was the representation of my building and rebuilding of my self-esteem.
Sure.
Through the journey of, as a small business owner, the lovely world of serious hard knocks.
Yes.
And it was my lifesaver. But when you start to unpack what are the building blocks of self-esteem, and if you're not rooted in self and rooted in the values and what it means that you are here to live your best life according to your own terms. And if you look at the let them theory, the amount of talk that's coming out now about what have you got control of, what do you not have control over?
Yeah.
And if you think of these HR professionals and you just take that analogy, what do they have control over?
Sure.
They don't have the tools. They don't have the capabilities. They're under-resourced. the onslaught of the demand for skills in this modern world of what is asked for. And if you think of from a talent acquisition perspective, my motto has always been quality, right fit, first time.
Sure.
That's what you have to deliver. So as a consultant, why are you using me instead of your internal team?
Yeah.
Okay. And the sheer overwhelm of, you're talking about talent acquisition professionals that are running 56 vacancies across multiple platforms. We spoke about this in our conversation. These multiple platforms, they don't know if they're coming or going.
No.
Then they don't have the data and the BI capability. They have these massive antiquated systems.
It's not necessarily fit for purpose. It's not serving the user on the ground.
And the agility that's required to shift and change, because role profiles, don't get me going. Yeah. As fast as you're writing them, they're changing.
100%.
The other thing as well is this expectation that a talent acquisition professional is supposed to know from an accountant to an infrastructure cloud architect and know how to assess the skills to decide whether they go on a shortlist. Because don't come and bug the chief data officer or the...
They're too busy. Send me that's your job. Send me the shortlist.
So the ask is absolutely unrealistic.
Yeah.
The problem is that HR doesn't have a voice and is not going, hang on a minute, this is not fair. How do I? And then the ability to shift. So if you think of scarf threats, if you think about flight, fright, if you're permanently in that state, you're not engaging your creative problem-solving brain.
No.
So on top of all of that, how do they come back with, actually, this is the solution? A creative
out-of-the-box idea.
It doesn't even have to be out of the box.
Yeah.
Just a rational argument to say, this is the pace at which the business is demanding this, and this is how we're recommending to do it. And then what happens? We don't have the budget. Sorry, it doesn't fit with the domain architecture, et cetera, et cetera. And that was so I've walked that journey. And I think one of the things that I love about my business is the ability for it to be agile.
Yeah.
So one of the founding values we have in my business is you will constantly research technology and software and go and ask yourself, how do we get better at this?
Yeah. I want to come in here, Joe. So obviously we do have examples of CPOs, CHROs, HR teams that are nailing this, right?
Yes.
They few and far apart. It's not been, at least my perspective, everybody. And I have not heard you or myself once say it is a capability problem. It is a function of the environment. It's the function of traditional conditioning around who you are in terms of your identity, budget, training, development. Are we equipping individuals to really understand what they're signing up for? And so those, as I'm listening to them, I'm going, we can do something about that. I was taught very, very long ago that one of the things that's really hard to change is cognitive ability, right? Cleverness. Now, I want to double click on that and segue into it, but that's not what we're saying is the issue here. It's not capability. It's maybe tools, empowerment, environment, conditioning, identity. And my question then becomes, because we deeply care, how can we add value and influence that and potentially spark a listener to be as inspired and passionate about doing this than we are? And no textbook answer needed. What's Joe's opinion on how do we help?
I think that there's a couple of things. So there's practical, like literally in the moment, how do we help solve these problems? And I think that that's why we're so excited about collaborating together, because Whamly is, I believe, a differentiated solution on how do you deliver quality right fit first time. And so there's practical solutions that my business can go in and say, how do we help support you?
Yeah.
And those are coming in the form of designing and building sourcing pipelines. So instead of talent acquisition professionals grappling with massive volumes of ATS applications where they're spending more time screening, et cetera, rather than the value adding of, tell me what the problem is, hiring manager, and how do I help you solve it?
Yeah.
And here is a pack of candidates that we can start to compare and benchmark against.
Yeah.
So instead of being in that space, they're still sitting in the offer to shortlist space where they actually need to be in the shortlist to hire.
Yes.
Space.
Yes.
So how do you help them transition from there to there more effectively?
Yeah.
And that's the space that I'm thinking about. What does that solution look like practically?
Mm-hmm.
The second, I believe, is fundamentally is helping them to self-regulate, helping them to discover their sense of purpose, helping them think about why are they in this profession, and to be reminded about the beauty of that profession and the impact it can make when it is done well. And that's what I always get so excited about. Every single time I hire a phenomenal human being into a role, I'm changing how that business can compete.
100%.
And I think when they're so stuck in that noise of deliver or die, do this, do that, etc., they're losing sight of that's fundamentally the impact you need to be making. And how do you help them recognize that that's the, for want of a word, the true north or the compass, or despite all the noise, this is where I still need to be delivering and performing.
Yeah.
And I really believe it's rooted in self.
Yeah.
If you're going to challenge a hiring manager, you have to know that two things. One, that I am competent and confident. And secondly, that my voice should be heard.
Yeah.
So that's a self-esteem thing.
Yes.
I matter.
Yes.
My voice matters.
Yes.
I'm here. And my other just comment is, and I will never come to you and tell you how to write a piece of code.
Yeah.
I don't know how to write code.
Yeah.
But boy, oh boy, every single line manager and its auntie will tell you how to manage and lead people.
Yeah.
Everybody has an opinion on
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, yeah. Or everybody has got the skill of interviewing.
No.
Or writing a job spec. I want to go back to what you said around the self, because I agree, technology and this episode is not about tech, but technology is something that can easily relieve pressure and alleviate being overwhelmed with just piles and piles of applications and not knowing how to manage them through the funnel. But this concept of self is super interesting. And I'm taking off my whammy hat and I'm putting on my industrial psych hat. Because as you're speaking about it, I'm realizing that, but hang on, this is similar in all walks of life.
Correct.
Not just human resources or talent acquisition, in any sort of career you're in, but then any sort of relationship you're in.
Yep.
And starting with the relationship with self. And maybe it's because I've been out of the loop, but I haven't been in many conversations lately where the focus point of the conversation is how are you and how are you developing your self-esteem? What do you think about yourself? I think the day and age we're living in with social media and instant gratification and these generational differences, and I was listening to this podcast this morning where the guy said, like, 3 months into his first career, he was bored. Where can I go now? And this woman was like talking against this, going, wait a minute, like you can't just run away every time it's hard or difficult. And again, for me, that's a reflection of the self. Like, what are you chasing? Well, maybe you should start asking yourself, who are you? And as an HR community, if we bring this back to our audience that we love and serve, is, well, who are they? And is there a single identity, or is it actually a function, or rather a projection of, well, I do and I challenge and I speak and I engage given my own understanding of who I am, which I'm not too sure if people are still focused on doing that.
So if you come into the realm of self-esteem, there's a couple of building blocks. And what I'm going to share with you is a model designed by an 85-year-old woman called Celia Coburn.
Okay. Is she still alive?
She's still alive and it's her birthday today.
Oh, wow.
I actually think she turns 86 today.
Okay.
And Celia Coburn developed the self-esteem model. And I'll start off with the mantra or the affirmation that it's built around. And it goes with, I am a valuable and worthwhile human being. And I hold myself in high regard.
Sure.
I know me. I accept me. And for the men I go, we can use I like me. And for the women, I'll use I love me. So what does it mean to say, I am valuable? Just that word. Or what does it mean to say, I'm worthwhile?
Sure.
And I mean, I get goosebumps because what does it mean, I am valuable? So in your personal life, how am I valuable? Okay. But in the work context, how am I valuable?
Yeah. How am I adding value?
And it is not about if you value me, then I'm valuable.
Yeah.
It is how am I valuable?
Yes.
How do I answer that question for myself?
Wow.
So instead of the seeking of external validation, it's the seeking of internal validation. So that's the kind of mantra. Then there's 3 building blocks. The one is, are you in a healthy, loving relationship with yourself? Because the bottom line is, if you're not in a healthy, loving relationship with anyone else.
Sure. That's powerful.
Okay. And what does that mean? So how do I go on a I love myself journey? How do I unlock the self-limiting beliefs of how can I be so selfish? That's not right. If you think of different cultures and the concept of I love myself before anyone else, and then think about women, and the majority of the profession of human resources is one.
Yes, correct.
That other building block is confidence and competence. So you can actually be competent, but not have any self-love. You can have a healthy self-love, but you may not have the competence.
Yes.
Okay. So that's why they're critical pillars. The third one is what we call boundaries, or in our term, assertiveness. An assertiveness definition is I take responsibility for my own thoughts, my own feelings, and my own needs.
Yes.
And then the practice of healthy assertion is the manner in which you communicate that. So if you don't use your voice to communicate, I'm not okay, or this is unacceptable to me, or how do I have this conversation with someone if you're not rooted in the fact that I matter?
Yeah.
So the power differential and what's going on inside organizations is how do I still show up that I matter despite the noise?
Yes.
So those are the building blocks of self-esteem.
Love that model.
And it's such a beautiful journey. We do an exercise of, you build a brick wall and you have little bricks. And we don't tell you how many bricks or how big is the wall, how small is the wall. And in there, you have to just write the words that describe who you are in a positive way.
Wow.
So what are the positive things about you? And it's fascinating. We did some work with one of the female cricket teams around building these brick walls. And, some are 5 words. Some are the Wall of China. Boy, they've got a laundry list of how amazing they are. And what is so interesting is when they start the journey, they write about things that they're good at. Rather than
describing themselves.
Correct.
Yes.
So I'm good at sport, or I can throw a cricket ball.
And that is, immediately it makes me think people define identity through outcome and output.
Correct.
Fascinating. Joe, we can sit here the entire day and we'll definitely have follow-up conversations. What I love about this podcast is it's never scripted. There's not a piece of paper lying around here. And it always takes on its own shape and form and voice, which I believe is needed for the audience listening to this. So there were so many golden nuggets. I'll actually get the resources from you and share them in the show notes for the audience. But if you can maybe wrap this up for us by leaving an audience member, a listener who made it all the way into, I don't know what we're in, minutes, wherever we are, who's still listening and super curious and inspired. If you can maybe just leave them with, what can they do now? Because Solving the People Puzzle is also a podcast, not just for hope and inspiration, but for practical tips, tools, and techniques. where can they start right now? If they're inspired by what you just said and they maybe feel what we're describing now as an HR professional.
I think the greatest way that you can honor yourself is in self-discipline. And self-discipline is different things for different people. But I would honestly say, how do you start right now if you're sitting there going, I'm not coping, I'm not dealing.
Yeah.
So stop drinking so much coffee. Drink more water. Sit down and write down a paragraph about how you're feeling and close that book and go back to it the next day.
Sure.
Don't pick up your cell phone the first thing in the morning. Give yourself a half an hour. Put on some tackies and go for a walk. Walk around in your garden and do jumping jacks. I'm not talking about like
these massive, expensive,
no,
it's like normal
just
human being things.
Just pick 5 simple things that you know feed your soul and are good for you, and that will help to regulate your parasympathetic nervous system.
Yes.
Just do that.
Yes.
And just do it for 5 days.
Incredible.
And see how you feel.
Incredible.
Honestly, the building blocks of self-esteem are tiny things that you do every day that you choose for you.
Yes, I love that. There's our one-liner. Jo, thank you so much for your insight, your wisdom, sharing. Yeah, this has been inspiring for me. I'm definitely inspired to just maybe circle back to my own mission as well, as Francois. But yeah, really, really great talking to you, and I know the audience is going to love this.
Thank you so much, Francois. I've loved every minute. Thank you for taking the time to listen to all the things that I'm so unbelievably passionate about.
Thanks so much for listening to Solving the People Puzzle. If you enjoyed today's episode, can you please go and like, subscribe, and even leave us a 5-star rating? If you have any questions around how to create the ultimate end-to-end hiring solution, head over to whammy.io so that we can help you hire better people faster. Catch you next time.